welcome to Guys and Their Games, the podcast. Today is episode 3, and as per usual, we'll be talking about what we've been playing, news in video game industry recently, as well as our topic of the week, which will be DLC. And joining me today are Jaeger.
Yo.
And Will.
Hey.
Yes.
Alright, Will, so what have you been playing recently?
Well, I've restarted playing Fallout 3 as a kind of a lead up to the release of Fallout 4. I figured that I can probably start it and complete it like 100%, beat, everything that I could possibly want to beat in the game by the time that Fallout 4 is released, and then I can obviously just jump right into that. I started playing it on the hardest difficulty that you can set it on, which, although it is arguably my favorite video game ever, and I know it like the back of my hand, it still is really, really, really hard. And I've noticed just the difference between games that are, stat-based, like Fallout, and then reaction-based, where it's more of like your actual ability to physically react to the game, like a Call of Duty or something like that. And I've just really been enjoying playing it, and honestly just getting my ass kicked. I saw like a whole group of raiders, and I instinctively was like, oh yeah, these dudes are boned. Like, I got my hunting rifle, I got my biker goggles on, like, I'm gonna go F these dudes day up, and I was dead, like, within 4 seconds, and it was really, really horrible. I walked out of the vault with my, 10mm pistol, saw some guys at the Springvale school, and I was like, you guys are about to get absolutely wasted, and I was dead in seconds.
A 10mm pistol.
Yeah, so
the most inaccurate gun in the game.
So it reloaded me to the start of leaving the vault, and the first thing that I saw was like a sign pointing towards Megaton, and I was like, yeah, I should probably do that first, actually. But no, I'm about maybe a third of the way through it at this point.
The main story?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, obviously I'm gonna play it way, way, way slower and go through, the whole game.
I just didn't know if you meant like a third of the way through doing everything you wanted to do.
Oh, no, not
I was like, damn, that's impressive.
Yeah, I really know the game really well. I'm speedrunning Fallout 3 on expert.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
But no, I mean, like when I was talking about Fallout New Vegas in our first podcast, I mean, I promise that I eventually will pick a game that I can actually talk about and explain a little bit more in depth, but it's just the games I've been playing are kind of older games that everybody already knows about and knows what they're, what's in there.
So, Will, have you experienced anything new in this run through of Fallout 3?
At this point, no, not really. I did have one of my, last week when we were talking about moments in video gaming that we really, really remember and cherish. I had one the other day that I realized after it had happened that it was one of those moments, and I was actually really stoked about it. And it's kind of lame in retrospect, but it was really cool at the moment. There's one quest, it's not even a quest, it's like an unmarked little thing that you can do, where you go to the Museum of Technology, and there's all these computers up on the walls, and one of them has this little code at the bottom, and you click on that, and then what you have to do is confirm 3 numbers and go through these 3 stages of this, just guessing random numbers that gives you 5 numbers, and one of them is the right one, and there's no indication of what it is, and all the 3 stations are at 3 different terminals throughout the Museum of Technology. And the only way to really do this is if you go to the place where you end up going to get the reward for this little quest, and you figure out what the number is, you get this passcode off this guy, and then you go back to the Museum of Technology and do it. Well, I haven't played this game in years, and I unconsciously remembered all of the numbers. I couldn't say okay, this one's this number, and this is this number, and this is this number, but when I was doing it, I looked at it, and I was like, this one? Yeah, no, I think it's this one, and I clicked on it, and it was right, and then I clicked on the next one, it was right, and the third one, I was like, I think it's this one, and it was right. And I mean, it was just 3 simple little numbers, but it was just really cool because they're all, it's supposed to be random. You're not supposed to be able to do that until you actually go to the place that you end up at,
So it was more of not random, it's set?
It is set numbers. I just mean the numbers themselves are they're not randomized. Yeah, it's just a random set of
that makes
numbers.
Sense to me.
But it was just really cool that I would just happen to be able to unconsciously pick out all 3 of those numbers and skip that whole, the whole thing. And I was like, man, it was really cool, and at the same time, I was like, holy crap, I spent way too much time playing this game.
Yeah, that's the thing about those games is, can certainly blow, like, away whole days.
Oh,
just doing, like, next to nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wandering around. Like, I found myself on the roof of some building, just, like, shooting at some cows. It was a cool moment, and again, I mean, I don't really need to explain a whole lot about what Fallout 3 is.
Right.
Or else you guys would probably get bored, because, you know, I love that game so much. It was cool. That's what I'm playing, and I'm really, really excited to, you know, just get deeper into it, get farther into the game, and just experience it again, because I really haven't played it in years. Experience it with almost, like, sort of fresh, but also not fresh eyes, if that makes any sense, because clearly I remember a lot of things from the game, but seeing it as like, I've evolved as a player, and getting to play it again and doing it a little different way. Like, I'm using science.
Oh, I started playing recently, and the first thing I did was bump my intelligence up to 10. Everything else was like 3 and 4.
Well, I always play Fallout games the same way, and I decided this time, I was like, you know what? No, like, I'm actually gonna, like, make my character a sneak character.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Which isn't something you really do, and I feel like sneaking in Fallout's like...
I've actually never done it before, but...
It's really kind of hard, honestly.
I've seen you do it before, and you still get, like, the critical strike and
Oh, you do, yeah. The problem is that, like, in Skyrim, your sneak is... The game is definitely better designed to be a sneaking character, and I'm sure in Fallout 4 it will be. The game will be more approachable from all directions. They kind of, I don't want to say shoehorn sneak in, but it's like there, but it's kind of clumsy.
It's kind of hard to sneak up on someone and, like, I guess, shoot them from, like, 10 feet away with
There's
like,
not a whole
pistol.
lot of silenced weapons.
Yeah.
The melee weapons are kind of hard to use. The game isn't configured in any way, like, the enemy placements aren't configured in any way that, like, you could sneak through a whole cave system in Skyrim like you can, and take out, 15 bandits without a single one of them seeing you. It's not configured in a way that's conducive to being able to do that. And the other problem that I found, the biggest problem, is that with the archery in Skyrim that we were just talking about, that's kind of like that's like your long-range silent killer. Yeah. In Fallout 3, there's 1 suppressed weapon in the game, 2 if you count the perforator, which is part of the pit add-on. So there's like a grand total of 2 suppressed weapons, and the one that's in the main game is a 10mm pistol.
Oh, good.
And it's garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first weapon you use.
And the other problem is the weapon spread. It's not something that you can decrease from your, like, your skills as they go up doesn't decrease weapon spread.
Right.
So if you're trying to use, like, the hunting rifle, which is one of my favorite weapons, like...
That's actually one of my favorite, too.
It doesn't have that big of a spread, but if you're trying to sneak and you're trying to land, like, one single headshot to kill somebody... It's just, I can go on for days about how it's just not a conducive game to being able to sneak because of ADS isn't even down the sights. It's like kind of awkwardly sideways. Your reticule is like 2 little triangles pointing at each other. But I figured I would try to make this literally as hard as it possibly could be for me.
Yeah.
And really like squeeze all of like the enjoyment that I can out of the game.
Yeah, like you were saying about it, kind of seeing things with new eyes. I actually haven't played the game in like 5-6 years or something like that, maybe 4.
I played it for days upon days upon days, like full days of playing that game when it came out, and then the following year or 2 after it came out, 3 years after it. I went back and replayed it once or twice, but not for at least the past 3 years.
I mean, I couldn't remember like most of the things. I was talking to one of my friends about this, but I mostly just remembered the main story, and like I didn't really. And I remembered the beginning, like I remembered Megaton, and I remembered a few places around it, but I didn't remember anything kind of like in the northern west region of the map, where you don't really go during the main story. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's I think that's why that game hit me so hard, because when it came out, I just was so blown away I was so used to playing Halo, because I loved it, and like that's like one of my favorite video game franchises, and not taking anything away from it, because it's not designed that way, but like in Halo, it's almost a straight line the entire time, and that's how it's designed, and that's fine. And I think I was just so like mesmerized by the fact that like after you get through like the first couple like parts of the main story and like are able to actually like branch off and go wherever you want, like you really can do and go wherever you want, and it just feels like such like an exploratory game that's just got so many different things in it. I think that it was kind of like it was kind of like completely unspoiled for me, because when it came out, I think I wasn't like as up on video games as I am now, and it's actually kind of like one of the first games that like made me realize like how much I really loved video games, beyond just being like, oh yeah, like I play them, they're fun, whatever. So I didn't have any hype for it. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know that Fallout 1 and 2, I had no idea what it was when I sat down and played it for the first couple times, and obviously I learned as I, as I went on through the game. But the first time that I played it was like as unspoiled and like pristine as you could ever play a game. I had no expectations. I had no idea what it was about. Like I didn't know what to expect. And I think that's one of the reasons that having absolutely no expectations anyway, that's why it blew me away so much, because I was like, I had no idea what I was in for, and what I was in for was like the coolest video game experience in my life. I would say that my first playthrough of that game, and I was probably terrible at it and had like no idea what I was doing, but the first time I played through that game is hands down probably my favorite like video game memory, if you will, of playing that. So hence I'm playing it again.
Right, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't, you wouldn't be playing it.
Exactly, and I wouldn't be talking about it quite as much.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, so that's what I've been doing. And I
Nice.
promise that eventually in the near future I will have a different game of a different game series that's something a little bit less,
There's nothing wrong with that.
a little bit less of a beaten path.
Sometimes you gotta marathon it, 'cause Fallout 4 is coming out.
It's
so
true, yeah. Like,
It's the perfect time to play.
Couple months.
my
Wait, they're
opinion.
making Fallout 4.
yeah.
No, they canceled it.
So, Jaeger, what if you...
Razer bought it and canceled
They
it.
canceled it and just put out the phone game.
The phone game's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
I have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
I haven't
cool.
played it.
I have
Um,
an iPhone.
It's not that engaging, but
I hate everything.
I mean, it's like I don't know. I
It's
don't even
kinda
remember
like-
what it is.
it's
really.
kind of like a vault simulator where you
Yeah.
like create your own
Yeah,
vault
what like genre would that be?
simulator.
Simulator. I
Touch
don't know.
and click.
It's like
and-
a management sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like along the same lines as like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I'm
exactly
trying to
what
think
it's
of.
like.
Yeah, I think those are considered simulators.
simulator
Uh,
games.
Yeah. So Jaeger, what have you been playing recently?
Well, recently this week, pretty much two things. So I beat The Last of Us this week, and I just played through that the first time. I never played that before, and I was like, cool. And then from your recommendations, like a while ago, this is actually a funny story. So Burke played through like all the Professor Layton games, and was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool.
Like
you
a
should,
year ago or
yeah,
something.
yeah. And she's like, you should play through them too recently, like this summer. And I was like, all right, cool. He had all of them except the first one. So I
Yeah.
bought the first one on Amazon for like $10. And I ordered it early July, like the first week of July. And I just got it last week. Like,
Didn't want to pay
when
that
July,
premium
yeah,
shipping.
the
huh?
end of like July rolled around. I was like, oh yeah, like where is Professor Layton? I forgot I ordered that like forever ago. And I looked on my order history and was like, oh, you ordered this in the beginning of the month. What?
That's insane.
And then I ended up getting the UK version, not even
yeah,
the
that
US
was funny.
version.
Yeah, you were like, "What
Close.
is this?" And I was like, "It says it
I was gonna
says
say
rated
Peggy.
Yeah, it says
rated by Peggy.
rated
yeah.
plus 7
7
plus,"
plus.
and I was like, "That's a Europe rating."
Yeah.
Peggy 7.
Yeah, so luckily the only difference really is that some of the puzzles are different and
Yeah.
some of the names of the puzzles are different.
Yeah, and some of the letters are different, like color.
They all have British accents.
But it's
Yeah.
basically the
I mean,
same.
They all do
anyways.
anyway.
It's like it's basically the
Kind
same
of.
game. It's basically
Yeah.
the same game.
It was actually interesting. I was listening to some people talk about Professor Layton earlier today, and I didn't realize this, but it's interesting in the sense that the series, it obviously has British people, but the way
It makes it interesting.
the way that the music
everything interesting.
and the animation is done is very like more French nationality. You probably never seen a French cartoon or anything. But
I mean, yeah, I'm familiar with what you mean.
I have, and they use like a lot of French instruments and stuff in the music, and I just thought that was
Yeah,
interesting.
the art style's just I don't know if it's really grown on me yet. Like the way like the villagers are drawn, like the actual NPCs. I really like the look of the town, 'cause, it's very like Lemony Snicket.
That's kind of what I
Yeah.
thought when I've never played them, but when I saw the
kinda
game, yeah,
early,
it kind of made me
like,
think of
Nightmare
that.
Before Christmassy kinda. But yeah, something about like there's just like now I'm sure it's because the game I'm playing is the Curious Village, so like the main premise is, this famous professor who's like an archaeologist, solves puzzles. Professor Layton gets called to this isolated village to like solve a mystery or whatever. And I'm sure maybe like at first I wasn't sure, like there was like a big discord between like how Professor Layton and his assistant Luke were designed like as characters, and then the way that every other character looked like they were made with one thing in mind, and then they were like totally different. And I think, you know, just because they're in the isolated village, it makes more sense.
Well, yeah, it's specifically that game in general. Just the villagers are weird, but
like, yeah.
it changes a little in the next game, and then the one after that.
Yeah. It's interesting because like all the villagers
whatever.
look really freaking weird,
Yeah,
except Lady Dahlia, who is the
Yeah.
woman who like wrote you the letter to get you to the city
Yeah.
to solve the mystery of her husband's
Pretty much.
death.
You talked about The Last of Us.
Yeah, I just played through The Last of Us for the first time. I've never played it. I didn't get it when it first came out or got on the hype train or anything, but you know, I know about its legacy, if you will. You know, it's Naughty Dog. When it came out, 10 out of 10s, masterpieces.
They were being thrown around pretty whimsically, and I would say that there was. I mean, we've talked about.
This
before.
happens all the time.
Yeah, games get 9.5s all the time and that sort of stuff. But I would say
I'm
that
pretty sure.
The game.
it's one of the in recent memory. I would say The Last of Us, in my opinion, at least when I played it, is one of the only games in recent memory that actually somehow managed to live up to the hype that was put on it.
Yeah, I'd say I really liked it. I thought it was a great game. I don't know if it was like the 10 out of 10 pushing this like medium forward that like revolutionary game everyone thought I got the impression everyone thought it was. But you know, it's a really well made game. And I didn't really run into any like big problems I had with it. I wish like the very last part was a little different. Just the way they handled like a lot of game companies handle it the same way, I feel like. Instead of having like I don't know, the ending gameplay wise, just I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending gameplay wise just felt kind of anticlimactic to me.
Yeah, and I think that can be kind of hard sometimes because when you build a game around, you know, the story and the mechanics, and you build it so that the whole game, the start, the middle, all the way up to the end is really, 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 you know, solid and really well done. And then when you get to the end, you have to have this kind of climactic sort of thing, which I think sometimes game designers either take way overboard and try and fit some ridiculous like mechanic into the end of the game that you're like, oh, that felt stupid. Or they try and leave it the way that it was the whole game and you feel let down because you're like, oh, like all I had to do was shoot that guy a couple times. Like, it's a hard line to walk between, I think.
It's like I could envision a way they could have done it better, and I think it would have. Like, it's a very simple fix, in my opinion. That I just think they just, you know, just kind of felt like, oh, that was it for the ending of the game. Which, you know, this isn't really a spoiler to say, because a lot of third-person shooters and shooters in general implement this. I know BioShock does it, BioShock Infinite especially, where at the end, there's just like they give you waves of dudes. And you just like you kill them. But I'd rather have it like I think BioShock Infinite didn't do it well. I don't think Last of Us did it exceptional. But there's other games that I can think of that did. Like I'd rather have like waves of dudes that like maybe are easy to kill and not like not just fucking like health walls. Like Jesus Christ! Like at the end of BioShock Infinite when you're on the ship and it's just like, all right, here's a bunch of dudes like. You gotta like shoot them a lot, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then Last of
Us.
Us.
Call down the bird on them.
Yeah, and The Last of Us was kind of like, it was kind of like a weird medium. It was like, here's not as many dudes as you've seen before. They're sort of armored, but you're still gonna like breeze kind of through it. Like I wish it was just like a bunch of dudes, cause like it's this big organization you're infiltrating, and it's like, okay, give me a ton of dudes, and like I'll just like blast through them, and like cause there's like it would serve the story thematically given the events of the story at that point in the game, which I don't want to spoil because, yeah, I don't like spoiling things for people.
No, I understand what you mean. I guess I feel as if the way that a company chooses to end a game, like the way that the game ends, I feel like unless it's like egregiously bad, like unbelievably bad, like if it ends on a turret section, like you're an idiot. like, you guys screwed up. But I feel like as long as the end of the game is something, when you're talking about waves of enemies being the end of the game and you're trying to think of games that did that,
Cause obviously, even if it was like a big, like, I don't know, like a boss or something. I don't know. Like, that would service me as a boss battle. Like, that's fine. Just like a bunch of people. Cause like, basically, like, I'm not gonna try to explain this without spoiling the game, but you need to get something back, and you need to get it back at all costs, and you're infiltrating this big facility, and they are well armed, have tons of guards, like.
And even though your character is kind of at
underwhelming.
his zenith in the story, like you are as lethal as you possibly can be with all your upgrades.
Yeah, you're at the
and all
end.
that
You
sort
got
of
all
stuff.
your upgrades, got your guns.
They obviously have to scale the enemies, towards, who your character's abilities, and assuming that at the beginning of the game you were this good, not so great, okay, whatever, and now at this point you've played the whole game, so
I
you
feel
are
like
better.
I think it did a good job up until that point because it didn't feel harder than the last whole section. Like, I felt like the last part of it, like the winter, it goes by seasons, kind of like the chapters. I felt like the winter part was a little more like climactic. It was more exciting to me than the actual end part, gameplay wise, anyway.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I would say that I think it is very, very hard to end a game, especially end a game that you're trying to make the end of it feel like you've really accomplished something. Like you've won, you've beaten whatever it is, and you've actually succeeded here. And it's hard to do that without a game that has a bunch of bosses in it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could substitute that. Like, I know it's trying to take itself really serious, like, and if a giant, like, fucking, like, conglomerate clicker just came out the last minute, I was like,
it was
ah!
ridiculous. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think that'd be cool. Cause I love the clickers. I think they're a really cool take on
God.
zombies.
You know how when you get super close to them from behind and they're making the noise, like, right before you stealth
they're
take them?
cauliflower faces.
That, every single time that
Aren't
was
they
tense.
mushrooms? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
spores,
fungus.
yeah. But every time, that's not much of a spoiler because they ruined that in,
That's not a
Uncharted.
spoiler at all.
But
That's like a basic
it's
premise of
actually,
the game.
there's a really awesome Easter egg for The Last of Us in, Uncharted
I think a lot
2.
of people know about that.
Yeah, the
newspaper.
that's
the
in
news
the bar.
about the breakout.
And the bar is actually
the
same
bar is actually in Last of Us.
that's in The
as
Last
well,
of Us, which is
pretty
really
cool.
Yeah, really
It's
cool.
kind of cool.
I love the way that Naughty
Yeah.
Dog. I watched this whole video on Naughty Dog's all of their Easter eggs that they put in the games, and like the stuff that they have with Crash Bandicoot to Uncharted to The Last of Us. Like
Poor Crash Bandicoot.
if you look up
Rip.
if you look up
Yeah.
Naughty Dog video game cover Easter eggs, I don't want to like say them because I'll botch them, but
Right.
Naughty Dog video game cover Easter eggs, it's mind blowing. It's so cool the way that they like had stuff from Crash Bandicoot parallel with the covers of the Uncharted games. It's just super cool. It's just such a great game studio.
It's pretty cool. And I haven't played the DLC, which I'm probably going to get around to at some point.
For DLC, it's pretty good, honestly. I think one of my favorite moments in that whole game is after, it's right around the middle time. It's the part where you end up switching characters, is what I'm gonna say.
Spoiler alert! Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been playing for Last of Us. And Professor Layton, my take on that so far, it's definitely an interesting game. I'm not really... I like this story. Like, it's giving me, that adventure game kind of feel, which I dig. I like adventure games. But, like, I don't know, there's just so many puzzles.
Yeah,
and
I
there's
mean,
so
it
many,
is a puzzle.
some of them
My brain
have,
hurts
but some
so
of them,
much.
Like, it's kind of like in, like, the new Super Mario Bros. When you get into, like, the desert world and, like, in 3D world and you go to the desert level, like, world 2, and you're like, cool, desert level. And you click on the level and it's like, oh, you're in a rainforest. And it's like, what? I guess it could be an oasis, but whatever. It's just like, something's just out of place, but it's like, hey, do this completely random puzzle that has nothing to do with the story at all.
Dude, come
It's
on,
like,
the man
okay,
just
cool.
loves puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, I've just
It's a
accepted
puzzle
it.
game.
It's great. I will accept all the puzzles, and some of them have tripped me up. I'm not gonna lie, because some of them are more of like I'm trying to use logic, and then it's like, no, we just tricked you.
Yeah, pretty much.
You will not play as
It's
Ellie.
more like a riddle. It's like you should have thought about it the other way, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn. Like for a really quick example, like there's like things that are like, okay, here's this like complicated thing where it's like, so if a rat can like reproduce twice
Oh, that one's so
a month and like gives 12 babies every time, and
I
you go
remember that
home
one
with a female
specifically.
rat, like how many will you have in like 14 months? And I was like, holy God. And then I was like, wait, it's only one rat, so she can't reproduce by herself.
Yeah.
So you'll get no rats.
Yeah.
That's like,
And I was like, yeah.
That's kind of like a take on that old riddle that's like, you're going to the market and there was 3 men with this and 2 women
Yeah,
with
it's
long
like this
hair,
crazy
16 elephants,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And then at the end,
crazy
it's like,
exposition, and it's like,
you
no.
say something like, and, how many of you were actually going to the market? And you're like trying to add it all up in your head.
Yeah.
You forget that you just said like, on your way to the
yeah.
market, you
There are a lot of
passed, something
puzzles like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I got the rat one wrong at first, cause
I did
just
too.
put-
I did the math. I was so upset.
Were you-
I didn't do the math, no.
Were you above
well, the way
punching
it
rats?
was worded was kind of weird, and I don't know if it was just because of the way it was written, but, like, I just put 1, because I was like, you'll have 1 rat left, the one you bought. And it was like, you're wrong, you'll have no rats. I was like, damn, I didn't know you meant, like,
Yeah.
like, give it to me. Like,
Come on, game. Just
Come on,
be
guys.
easy.
Yeah. The first one, both story-wise and puzzle-wise, is probably the most simple. I think going forward, they get a little bit more in depth, at least in the story. And I guess as the series goes on, you probably see like a lot of the same puzzles. Have you yet?
the only one I've really seen as a repeat is, like, the bartender, like, pouring
The
milk.
milk.
Yeah.
Fucking milk. But, yeah, how it goes is, like, every game in the series sort of has, like, its own puzzles, and then they kind of, like, sort of get harder. Like, the first one you do is, like, oh, this is kind of how you do it, and then they get more and more advanced. So that's kind of how, like...
Oh, that makes
every
sense. It
game.
kind of gives you like a nice
Yeah.
soft intro, like to
So
it.
you said you already did 2 milk puzzles. There's probably, like, another 3, or
Yeah,
another
I
1
mean,
or 2.
it kind of goes back to what we were talking about even a few minutes ago. Like, it's like basic game design.
Gives
Give you something
Gives you some milk.
easy to master, and then at the end they challenge you, and it's like,
Yeah.
you should have learned.
Start with
Yeah.
milk and then they give you soda. And
So that's
then,
a cool way to do
straight
it,
whiskey.
instead of just, like, maybe that'll, I can, like, reevaluate how I feel about it after, because it's like, okay, you gave me puzzles, and then I'm solving, like, the same ones but harder later. That makes more sense than just, like, here's, like, all these random-ass puzzles.
Yeah,
Going in dry.
about rats breeding.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, my favorite part about that is, like, the way to start that puzzle, it was like, you see this cat, like, eating this, like, mouse in an alley, and he's like, that reminds me of a puzzle. And I was like, holy shit. Alright. So what have you been playing recently, Burke?
So what I've been playing recently, I played this a little bit while ago, but I really
Fallout
enjoyed
3.
it.
Oh, no, you quit.
not
That's
Fallout
right.
3. I quit
Just been
very,
watching
very shortly
Taken.
on. Yeah. I've just been
Should
watching
have a
Let's
Taken
Plays,
marathon.
and that's what I've been
I
playing.
love those movies.
But,
I haven't
back-
seen any of them in so long.
They're so good.
I've seen the first one, that's
Liam
it.
Neeson goes straight from Fallout 3 to the beginning of Taken.
Like in the story.
It's a prequel.
Yeah.
That's canon.
Yeah.
That's Fallout canon. It's
Yeah.
Taken.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I've been playing the first game I want to talk about of 2 has been Ori and the Blind Forest.
Cool.
It was a newer game. It was made by an indie company, being Moon Studios, and then published by Microsoft. So it only pretty much came to Xbox and PC. But it's sort of like a Metroidvania style game, which I haven't played in a while. And it's actually really interesting in the way it plays. It's definitely not all that combat focused at all, which I guess most Metroidvania style games I wouldn't really say are too combat focused. But I mean,
There's combat.
yeah, it's definitely more focused on the platforming aspect. So how it works is like the game will throw like really hard platforming elements at you of things
See,
you
that's
probably just,
interesting.
yeah,
There's not
things
a
you
lot
just
like
learned.
that.
And then they also have this really unique save system where you gather these things called energy cells, and if you have an energy cell at any point, you can push and hold the E button, and it creates a save state right there. So kind of what it allows you to do is do like a hard puzzle, maybe halfway through you want to save, just because you don't want to like go back through, and if you have like a balanced ground, you can just save right there. Or you can just, like, do the whole thing in one go and then just save after.
Mm.
But, like I said, you need energy cells. So, in the beginning of the game, I think you start with, like, 1. So, you can only save once every time until you collect, like, more of the, I guess, power-ups. I don't remember what it's called. It's, like, energy something. Which,
Metroidvania.
kind of, yeah. But alongside
To
that,
reiterate.
yeah, alongside that, going with the focus of no combat, it has like no bosses in it, which kind of surprised me. The boss areas are taken up by platforming areas where it kind of like you have something coming at you and you have to quickly like make your way through
Just sort of
these
run
corridors.
from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some games
Which
do that.
which are
It's
pretty
pretty cool.
interesting. And, I mean, the game literally has like no bosses at all. So
Yeah.
like I said,
I mean, that's like a substitute for a boss.
yeah, exactly it is. But
That would be like my definition of a boss.
the story, yeah. The story is very bare bones. I mean, it doesn't go too in depth, but it makes sure to throw some touching moments in there at times. And I mean, the art style looks great and the music's phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
It
Maybe
really
I'll play
does.
it when you're done with it.
Yeah.
Just come over your house.
I mean, it's a very short game. It's like 6-7 hours. I think I beat it. So not
you're
too
already
long
done?
at all. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I beat it like
I wanted to play it.
I beat it like a week and a half ago or something. But yeah, I mean, the most similar thing I would compare it to is Guacamelee. It's another indie game. I don't know how
Yeah.
many people have played that, but I love that game. as well.
Guacamelee is super popular. I'm sure everyone knows what it is.
Yeah,
at
I
least.
mean, but even Guacamelee was a little bit more combat focused in the sense that
Well,
it had
yeah,
like
'cause
kind
you're
of
a
sweet
freaking
bosses.
luchador.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be kind of confusing if it wasn't, but yeah, I mean, I really
I
enjoyed.
just got that like guacamole.
Yeah, Guacamelee.
And the cogs
Wow.
are turning.
Wow, that is
We have our brains
brilliant.
on today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really do. Wow, I'm killing it.
So yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest. It was a phenomenal game. Possibly
3 out of
one
5.
Yeah, one of the best games I've played this year, certainly.
10
Anything
out
else?
of 10.
Yeah, the other game I've been playing, which I also beat like a couple days ago, was Trauma Center. Second Opinion.
Yeah, I saw your
yeah,
Snapchat.
me and Burke have been like, I came over a couple times and we were playing it together.
I really do kind of want to actually play that.
It's really interesting.
hilarious.
It starts as sort of, you start and you're like, if you've never heard anything about it, you start and you're like, alright, this is a kind of surgeon simulator on the Wii. You use like your motion controls and like as a scalpel for cutting, you use it for like stitching people up. It's very motion control, or I guess pointer based. So it starts off kind of like that, and then it kind of just turns for a ridiculous loop of events that involves a new brand of terrorism deemed medical terrorism, where people are injecting other people with like these microorganisms that like cut up your heart, or like
I feel like even if you didn't
it's
know, I
ridiculous.
feel like even if you didn't know anything about the game, you'd just be able to tell. Like,
It's
if
like
you
from-
told me nothing about this game and showed me the box, I'd be like, okay,
That looks ridiculous.
this is made by Atlas.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
from Japan. Surgery. This is gonna be sweet. Like, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the most in-depth story ever. I mean, it's passable, but it's just what makes is how ridiculous it is and how hard it gets towards the very end. But
Is it anything like Operation?
sort of.
Okay, 'cause
like
that's
there's,
what I've heard it described as.
there's like certain
it's so much
operations where you
more,
have
though.
to
Much
take,
more
yeah.
complicated,
Oh, yeah.
but I mean, like, that's a similar, like...
There's certain operations where you have to like take pieces of glass out of people and you have to sort of like wiggle them out, and in that sense it's kind of like Operation, like you don't want to touch the sides or else it
Oh yeah,
hurts
I
the
failed at
patient.
You're
that.
saying I should just play Operation.
No. So,
Okay.
so this game, this game like broke my mind multiple times. Like I'll be playing it, I'll be like, yeah, no, that's perfectly fine, and then it'll just do something. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like I know you said this was like kind of smart, but the biggest thing that really got me was your characters are in kind of a car chase, and you don't play the car chase, obviously. It's all cutscene. Yeah, I know, right?
Well, yeah, the only gameplay in the game is
Operating on
surgeries.
people. But, so they get in a car chase, one person gets hurt, and it's dark out, and the person that didn't get hurt, who was getting chased, was a doctor, and they're like, alright, I gotta go help this person that got hurt. And they're like, oh, but our car battery just died, and the lights in the tunnel just went out, and there's no moon. How are we gonna operate on this person? Someone's like, well, I have like a flash camera from like the 1980s.
So you have to, like,
it's ridiculous.
like, flash
One of
bulb,
the
like,
things you do is you take the
the
flash.
movie Rear Window.
you take the flash, you drag it over where you want it, and you snap it, and it flashes, and it shows the error for like 5 seconds, so you quickly gotta be like, alright,
you told me
I
about
gotta
that.
take this glass out, suture this person up, and like, bandage here, and it's just ridiculous.
I don't know if anybody's seen the movie, but that's literally what happens at the end of the movie Rear Window. And I'm not going to say
Really?
spoiler alert
Yeah.
because that movie came out in like 1954.
Yeah, no. It's a classic movie.
Yeah.
Go see it.
So, the
if you
game,
haven't. Please.
They had it in Regal. They were re-showing it in Regal.
Yeah, I
like,
heard
a couple
about
months ago.
that.
I went and saw
Recently.
it.
I did want to...
It
Oh,
was-
you did?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. It's like one of my favorites. So,
yeah, me too. I just did not... I don't know. It just came at a bad time. That's the thing.
the
now.
beginning of the game, I was having kind of
and Mission
a
Impossible.
little bit of a struggle because it's super easy, and like the things are like do an appendectomy, and I'm like, oh fuck, I
It
don't
was
wanna
so
do it.
easy.
I don't want to fucking do
What?
this. Well, like you just pretty much. I mean,
Got it.
compared to the later stuff where you're cutting like things that are like draining the heart of their blood, and you have to like
What
carefully do this.
did you
Yeah,
say?
that's certainly what
Heart
makes
of
the
their
game, I
blood.
think, is just the difficulty of which it reaches, and also just the ridiculousness of which it reaches. And I mean, the game just completely doesn't take itself
And
seriously.
if
at
you
all.
like Japan,
Well, it's
you'll
from
like it.
Japan and it's Atlas. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine
You'll
that it
like
takes itself
it.
exceptionally
There's like
seriously.
I just remember losing it because like later in the game, one of the last people is like, they're explaining like all this in-depth stuff, and your doctor's like, I don't know what any of that means, but I'm gonna do the operation. And I was just like,
Give me the cliff notes.
good. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, hit me with them spark notes on this medical terrorism, dog.
Yeah. Where's the box is around here
Making
somewhere.
the
I was
first
reading the
incision.
box one time and I thought it was so funny. Just the last statement it says. Here it is. Alright. The last statement it says is, oh, this game is also a remake of Trauma Center Under the Knife for the DS. It was remade. I looked at it actually.
With a clever name, Trauma Center, Second Opinion.
Yeah, no.
Genius.
So Trauma
Pretty clever.
I know. It's like Guacamelee.
Yeah, exactly, right? They got
All
the
clever
witty
things
names.
are clever,
Really
yes.
clever.
But it says, if one
Unless
dose
it's a
of
great-
Trauma Center wasn't enough for you, it's time you get a second opinion. But yeah, like I said, it was a remake of the DS one. It was vastly different. Like, they changed a lot of the
That's-
mechanics. Yeah, because what they did was, in this one, you actually have, like, motion controls being the Wiimote and the nunchuck. So, like, there's certain things like
The big cheese.
defibrillator, where you have to like push the defibrillator up to the person and push it at the right time. They just added a bunch of stuff. They completely changed one of the levels, which I won't spoil because it might be one of the most ridiculous
I
parts of the
really
game.
want to play this game now.
It's really
You
awesome.
have sold me. This game sounds awesome.
I got them both at a local game store called Game Craze for $15 because they were doing a buy a game under $15, get a game under $15 free.
Go to Game Craze, support your local video game stores.
If it's
Do it.
where you are, since I think it's a very local.
Well, support
I just
your
mean in
local
general.
mom and
Support
pop
your
game
local
stores.
That's
video
true.
game stores.
That's
It's
true.
really important.
But yeah, like I said, they changed a lot. They updated the graphics a lot of the people. Like, they're vastly different.
I mean, it was on the DS, so I
Yeah.
can't really-
It's weird because they keep like
That's
the
pixelated.
they keep the DS like aspect on the TV, so it's kind of square,
Oh,
so
so
it won't
do
fit
they
like
have-
a widescreen.
They have letterbox.
Sort of, but on like the left and right side, not on the top and bottom.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing recently, and I guess next we'll be going to the news segment. We actually have a few things that have come up in the video game industry recently, so we'll get to that next. See you guys after the break.
This week's trivia section will be about the game The Last of Us. In one of the game's cutscenes, a photograph of Joel and his daughter Sarah are shown, and they're both wearing soccer jerseys of their favorite soccer teams. What country's colors are represented on the soccer jerseys? A. Germany, B. Argentina, C. Spain, or D. the US?
Alright guys, welcome back to the news section of the show. I guess I'll start off with some news. Something more minor, but is actually kind of interesting, is the Miiverse revamp. I don't know how many people know what Miiverse is, but if you're a Nintendo fan, you probably know what it is.
I think everyone knows what the Miiverse
it's
is
essentially
now.
It's essentially a forum that you can access from
Cesspool, really.
pretty much.
A cesspool is a much more accurate
You can access it from the internet, your 3DS or the Wii U, and basically what it is it's broken up into communities based on games, and you can post in that community about the game and stuff. But the revamp makes it not only look a lot prettier, it also makes it more accessible to people. So communities are now broken up into, you can search by picture, discussion, game, like walkthrough. So that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What would you say was like the big news this week or last week?
There's a couple different things. I mean, in terms of games getting announced, I would say probably Dragon Quest XI being announced for 3DS and possibly the NX, alongside Dragon Quest Monsters
wasn't
Joker
it announced
3.
for PS4?
It was announced
3DS?
for that too, yeah. It was announced for 3DS and PS4.
That's so interesting.
And they originally said it's announced for NX, and then they came back and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we meant it may be announced for NX."
Yeah.
So either they had a little bit of slip up, or like I guess either way they had a slip up.
I don't know. That's kind of interesting that those exclusives, the Nintendo 3DS and the PS4.
Well, out of all the consoles, I think so. As of right now, it's only Japan focused, and out of
They love Dragon Quest.
out of all the consoles in Japan, PS4 is doing the best. So Square Enix is going to put all the chips on them, and also mobile gaming, I guess to that extent, handheld gaming is also super popular in Japan. So they're going to throw it on like the 3DS as well, because that's the most popular handheld over in Japan. It actually looks really interesting on the 3DS because the top screen is like new gen graphics of Dragon Quest, and the bottom screen is like old school like 8-bit graphics of Dragon Quest. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really nostalgic for that art style, specifically Dragon Quests. I think, they had a lot of limitations, obviously, back then.
Yeah.
But I think what they did with it, with the game design, really made it stand out from other ones.
Yeah, they also said if they do bring it to the United States or to Europe, they're also going to bring it with Dragon Quest X.
Oh, cool.
Which is, as of right now, only Japan exclusive.
Mm-hmm. That's the MMO one?
I believe so.
Okay. I don't know. So. I don't really know too much about Dragon Quest.
Yeah, it was originally for Wii, and then they remade it for Wii U, and then, yeah. It's essentially that. So that's what, I guess, Square Enix has been up to. Any of you guys have news?
This is, kind of dangerous news, I would say. NVIDIA has recalled Shield tablets sold between July 2014 and July 2015, so about the past year, the 8-inch size Shield tablet because of potential fire hazards. The battery has a likelihood to overheat and catch fire.
Jeez.
So if you have an 8-inch Shield that was sold in that time frame, it would probably be a good idea to send it back to NVIDIA and not set yourself on fire while playing video games. That would probably be huge. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, that's really not cool. I mean, like, I feel like
they weren't really thinking on that one, were they?
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like product recalls always sound a lot worse when they're reported in the news. Like, the odds of it actually catching fire and like lighting, the shield on fire.
It probably happened to like 3 people.
Lighting your hand on fire and
too
killing
many.
you.
It is.
But that's a good point. Like, the fact that it could happen at all to anyone, that's not cool.
That's too many. I mean, just like the visual image in my head of like someone sitting down and like playing their game and just bursting flame. Like, oh, that's horrible.
And they just keep playing.
Naturally.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
It would be metal as fuck, but like, it'd be fucking rad. but actually not.
So fucking metal.
But actually not.
Like, you just like didn't get to a save state yet, so you're like, nah, I gotta keep going.
Basically, that's a real thing.
So there's some news for you.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I don't really know too much about the news I was gonna bring up. Like,
Great.
I won't be able to like support it with too many like, specific names
Facts.
and facts. Yeah. But basically, there was 4 days left on the Red Ash Kickstarter, and they were about halfway with their goals for funding. And then some random, see, this is what I don't know. I don't know the name of the company in China, but there's a game company in China that picked up Red Ash and like funded the rest of their like proceeds. So the game will get made, but it's going to be like a lot longer than it was originally planned to be. So I think originally it was supposed to be like a 4 kind of like episode miniseries kind of game. So now it's going to be a full-fledged game. But I don't know, but the weird thing is like they're keeping their Kickstarter up, and I think now they're just trying to they're like, oh, if you can get to the like these certain checkpoints and goals, then we'll put like bonus stuff in the game.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know. I've heard a lot of people express like not concerned, but they're just kind of like looking at it with in a strange way.
Like if you got picked up and your game is getting funded, like why are you leaving your Kickstarter up to continue?
Yeah, I think that might be
Getting
where
money
some of that
poured
stigma's
onto you.
coming from. I don't really know. Like I said, I haven't really checked up on it too much, but I'm happy it's getting made.
Yeah, I mean,
just
last
hope
week
it
you were
doesn't...
super hyped about like the Kickstarter and stuff.
Oh
like
yeah,
that in
I think the
general.
idea is really cool, but I don't know. This is kind of some sketchy stuff going on. But who knows? I mean, I'm still super excited for it. I hope it's good. I really hope it's good.
Yeah, who cares if there's tons of embezzlement and a bunch of illegal things? Like, if the game's
It
good,
just looks
like,
cool. I like the concept a lot. It just being a Mega Man Legends spiritual successor. Oh, and Mighty Number 9 got pushed back.
Yeah.
Speaking of
It's
Mega
true.
Man. They said it's not even coming out in 2015.
Yes.
Did it have an original release date
September
or just
15th,
like a
2015.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was
coming
supposed to
very
come out in
soon.
September.
oh, that's not cool.
Then it got pushed back for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to look at it, but it
I don't
doesn't
really know
say
why.
they specified anything.
There's like so much going on with this game or like this series and franchise. It's crazy. Like they're already trying to do like a live action movie, like
I
an
know.
animated series.
That's a little ambitious.
It's going nuts.
It is
Yeah.
definitely a little ambitious, especially if like you can't even get your game out.
Exactly.
I mean, when you say a release window, like holiday season this year or like fall this year, quarter, whatever this year, and then like push it back a little ways, that's one thing. But if you release a specific date that a game's coming out on and then change it to something that's more than just like a month or two, like September 15th, and all of a sudden, like, just kidding, not till 2016, like, that's a pretty big jump, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
they definitely have enough of the game done where people have like put up game like completed level videos, so they got everything down. I'm just wondering if it's just for polish or what's going on there, because it's just a small group of really well-known people that are making the game.
Yeah.
It's not like a
Exactly.
huge, it's concept. I think I don't know.
yeah,
think so.
Some
That is
spoof
what it
of
is.
obviously a shot at Capcom, which is cool, but 'cause they don't treat their employees great sometimes.
And some other news,
Dinosaur story.
Fallout 4, somebody was being interviewed about it, one of the team members was being interviewed about it, and when asked about the game's completion, he said it was, quote, basically done.
Oh, I did hear that.
So that's
actually. Yeah.
that's really reassuring and good.
Mhm.
Basically done. That game comes out in early November, so
Yeah.
they still got some time. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, certainly.
Yeah, and fortunately, I mean, if they have a release date, they're not going to pull, like, just kidding, it's not coming out until 2016.
I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like they're just releasing it in November because that's like when they release their games.
That's when video games.
Yeah.
That's what Bethesda does. That's
the
when they
video
release them.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, who cares if they're finished or not, or if they really work? Just release it. It'll be fine. You make tons of money, and
Exactly.
yeah, Arkham Knight, it'll be fine.
Well, yeah.
All right.
We could delve into that a lot.
So,
I think we already have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did last time. So
I don't know,
Nintendo
there's-
announced a partnership with Facebook for promoting Mario
Oh,
Maker.
yeah.
Basically, what they're gonna do is
That's cool.
Nintendo is gonna go to Facebook's headquarters. They're gonna lay down the game and be like, "Here's the game." And basically, what they're gonna do is certain Facebook employees are gonna make levels, and then the other employees are gonna play through them, and then they're gonna post all of the playthroughs and levels up on Facebook and have the community vote on which one is their favorite level and which one looks the most fun, which is actually really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I like it when companies get the video game community involved more than just like being able to comment on it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, to really do something that's not just a one-way street, but is like interactive for both sides.
It's certainly interesting going to like Facebook for something like that, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I'm sure it's happened, but
Yeah.
I
And
just nothing
Nintendo's
comes
just,
to mind.
they like doing that stuff. I mean, you can see that with like Splatoon already. A lot of catering to their fans, which is cool. They're always trying to think of some new stuff to do to promote their games.
Anyone else have anything?
My big thing was the Red Ash that I should probably look into more before I actually mention them. There's a sweet mod in Arkham Knight, lets you play as Alfred. So
It'd
there
be a
you go.
sweet mod if they made it so that you could play it.
They're working
Like
on
with
that one.
Batman.
They're working on it.
Who's spending their time doing that?
Rocksteady?
Um,
Iron Galaxy.
Rise of the Tomb Raider will not have any loading screens in it.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I think that's really showing off the power of the newer consoles.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a huge game. Obviously, the graphics in it are really good. I know that,
Is it Ouya exclusive?
yes, absolutely, yeah.
And there it is.
Oh, we haven't talked about the Ouya yet.
Yeah, that's
So,
some news.
the company Razer has purchased Ouya in its entirety in a, quote, all-cash deal, which sounds pretty
All
gangster
cash
when you
deal.
say it like that.
3/4 turn.
No, so
Maximum gangster.
they purchased the company and then immediately canceled the Ouya, discontinued it, and it is never going to be made and basically put into the graveyard.
Get one now.
And I would just like to say that I remember there being a fair bit of people when the Ouya was originally announced that that bought the Ouya. Like, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was, that purchased it outright. And they said that if you like bought an Ouya fully, that you'd have like your name on the website, that you would like get all these extra little bonuses, like all sorts of stuff. So I can't say that the community is very large, because obviously it isn't, but there's clearly some interest for it. And there are some really disappointed people. You know, there's somebody out there somewhere with an Ouya tattoo who's like, oh,
An Ouya tattoo.
man,
That's a little.
I screwed up.
Honestly, I don't know the details.
He
but
screwed up for getting the tattoo.
I'm sure what happened was Razer bought them for the hardware and was like, "Well,
Absolutely.
Ouya is not doing
It's
great.
not
We're
making
gonna
money,
shut
yeah.
it down and we're gonna open it up later or something."
Absolutely.
else.
That's exactly why they bought it. They're going to take all the stuff out of there, all the technology, because in the deal they bought Ouya, all of the patents, all of the subsidiary, all of the rights. They literally bought the entire company, and now they own it. Yeah, they're just going to dismantle the thing. They know that Ouya is a dead horse, so they're not going to try and like.
Not gonna beat it.
Exactly. I
You
was
gotta
trying
finish.
to avoid that cliche, but yes,
Well-
that's exactly what I was going for.
I mean,
Thanks, sir.
you see that a lot recently. You see like a lot of, I guess, other computer hardware companies trying to get into like the console business. I mean, Nvidia has their ads up for, I don't even know what it's called, Nvidia, whatever.
The
But-
shield
Shield
Is-
that we just talked about.
that we were literally talking about seconds ago.
That could
Oh, is
actually
that
set
it?
you on
Okay.
fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could kill you and set you on fire.
enough.
You should know these things because
Yeah,
they're
I looked at the news.
they're a fire
Just
hazard.
kidding. Yeah, even Steam with like the Steam box is also trying to.
Yeah,
whenever
they're-
that happens.
Is that what it's called?
Steam box, yeah. I
Is
think
the
so.
Steam
I thought it was
controller
called the
out?
Steam
Is that
machine.
a
It might
thing
be.
yet?
The Steam controller, you can buy it on Steam. I
Well,
looked
I
at
didn't
it-
think you could buy it on
That should be a
Ouya.
surprise.
I don't know. I was looking at the specials today, and it was like, yeah, you could buy this game, this game, this game. Oh, the Steam controller.
How much
Not
is it?
on
They're gonna
sale, but
slip
it's a
it in.
special. It was like $50,
I haven't
$60.
met or talked to like anyone who actually owns one. I kind of
It
want
looks
to.
interesting.
It kind of looks. Does it look like an Xbox controller?
Sword. It has the general idea, but instead of
I mean,
joysticks,
it's-
it has like touchpads.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about, or the potentially cool.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. I love touchpads. Those are
Yeah.
the easiest, best way to control anything in a video game ever is a touchpad.
That's why I make sure my keyboard always has one.
Whoa.
What?
I'm currently looking at a picture of the Steam controller. That's what that was all
Oh,
about.
Yeah.
I didn't even see. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting.
It's weird. It almost looks like the bottom of a controller, but that's the way that you hold it. Like you hold it upside down.
I guess for the final thing, we'll bring up the fact that China finally lifted their ban on video game consoles.
Yay.
There's a ban back in 2000 when consoles were starting to get like super popular.
Super.
China threw on video game consoles because they deemed them as time wasters, and kids could be doing something else productive and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, like playing StarCraft or something.
Yeah, playing games on their PC.
Yeah.
It's way more productive. Then again, you can't really ban PC.
Yeah.
Nor can you ban games on PC since
That
you
would
could just
be-
download them from the internet.
People would be a little upset about that.
I mean, just to think about the fact that, like, what a difference it is that here in America, like, you can talk about, you can say pretty much
America.
whatever you want, like, against the
You can play
government,
whatever
against other
consoles you
people.
want.
You can, and something as so simple as, like, buying a PS4, buying an Xbox One, being able to play that. And in China, it's just, like,
Yeah, for the
so unbelievably restricted.
past 15 years, it's just not been possible.
I mean, I'm sure they've been able
Dude,
to
they missed out
smuggle
on
them in
Star
and
Fox
stuff.
Adventures.
But I wonder with the geo locking on consoles, how did that work for ones that were like shipped like in the region locked? If they were able to, somebody was able to smuggle some in because they're rich Chinese tycoon billionaires and their little kid wants like a PlayStation. Would they not work there because
No, they
their
do.
location
Region lock
lock?
isn't
Region lock
actually-
would be
Region lock is done per device, so you can actually buy a region lock Japanese 3DS and play Japanese 3DS games on it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna like detect that it's in American soil and just be like, no, this can't
And
happen.
they storm fucking
Yeah,
house.
you get swatted.
pretty much, yeah. But it's done per.
It's our Dragon
device.
Quest. You can't have it.
I wonder why they do that. I guess I've never really understood like the
Just
point
the
behind
concept of region locking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't honestly know.
I can't find it other than corporate profit.
No,
The one I don't understand is why.
Mune.
Other than that, but
The
that's it.
moolah.
That must be it.
The
right?
young moolah.
I don't even know. I feel like if they had things not region locked, maybe to an extent. But if they had things not region locked between like Europe and America, they wouldn't have problems with like having just a bunch of stuff in one place and like nothing in the other place.
Okay, so I get that they want to release like some games have like it's released in North America this date and it's released in Europe in this date and yada yada yada. But you were saying that you were playing Fire Emblem
Yeah,
and you were playing a fan translated version.
yeah.
So nobody that made Fire Emblem made any profit off what you're playing because it's a fan translated version.
Yeah.
Why don't they just let everybody play any game in any region that they want and make the profits from selling a Japanese game to somebody like you?
Well, the thing is, certain
Thing is, you can't read Japanese.
yeah, that's
a
one big
huge
thing.
problem to
That's
begin
one
with.
big thing.
Yeah.
But one thing is, region lock wasn't like at least in Nintendo wasn't really that big up until the GameCube. I think. I don't even know if the GameCube had it. Honestly, I know the SNES. I'm pretty sure
the
had it.
GameCube had some.
SNES had it. I don't think N64 had it. The Game Boy Advance didn't have it, and I don't think the DS had it either,
No.
because you're playing a Europe game on your DS.
Europe. Yeah.
European extreme game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. The Game Boy Advance and the DS, the original Nintendo DS, were not region locked at all.
Right.
Really difficult.
So I honestly don't know why they would like region lock something between like Europe and America, unless they have like certain like jokes in them that they think only certain regions would find funny.
Well, there
Well,
is
maybe, but,
there
like,
is
nah.
a good. I know this is a very very like isolated example of this, and it has happened in other places. But a good point is in Fallout 3, one of the weapons is called the Fat Man.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
the mini
true.
nuclear launcher.
Yeah.
Obviously, that joke is unbelievably insensitive for a Japanese version of the game, Fat Man being a reference to the nuclear bomb that was dropped
Yeah.
on their country. So that really probably wouldn't be cool
No,
to
certainly
use
not.
as a reference in a video game for them. So I can understand that, like, they don't want to have, pretty horrific references to, like, use of nuclear weapons on civilians in their games. But I feel like it leans way more towards profits than not offending people.
It's purely, I think, economical.
I guess
Like-
I understand that the reasoning behind it is economical. I know that somebody's listening is like, you guys are idiots. I know exactly why they region lock games.
happen.
But I guess I just don't understand, like, the economics behind it. Like, how that makes them more money. I guess I just don't get it.
I guess, like, if a bunch of kids in, like, Europe were like, the Wii U's region locked, yeah?
Yeah.
And they just bought a bunch of Wii U's from the US, they're not buying, and like it came out earlier in the US or something, then they're not buying
That would
ones.
decrease the profits of all the European Nintendo retailers.
That's what I would think.
Okay, that would make sense.
But I have not fact-checked anything, so don't.
Yeah, you're not really on the
Don't
fact-checking
take that.
train today. But no, that
Are
actually...
any of us,
That could
besides
be
maybe
it.
Burke.
That completely does make sense, though, because, like, when
It
the
does.
PS3 came out in Japan, it came out almost an entire year before, when it was released in North America.
Yeah.
Everybody would have just bought it from there.
Right.
And played, and just waited for all the
I mean, some
American
people still
games to come out for it.
do. I have seen a lot of people stream Japanese 3DSs because the 3DS came out first and
Yeah.
all the games come out first. So, like, I guess there is still, like, a small group of people that are pretty hardcore about buying all that stuff.
Yeah, you gotta be pretty intense to try and play video games in a different language.
Yeah,
Well, some games you don't really need,
that's true.
like, to know that much about it. Like, if I was to get, like, I don't know, a Japanese GameCube and order Donkey Konga 3, I think I could figure out how to play the game.
Now I really want to know what that sounds like in Japanese.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic.
The Japanese theme song of that game.
Of Donkey Konga?
Yeah, is it the same song? Or is it actually, like, Japanese voiceover? I meant,
talking
like,
about the
main
rhythm
theme.
game.
Yeah, I meant, like, the main theme. The one that's like,
Oh,
come on, everybody, clap your
your
hands.
No, that was made here.
Oh, damn it.
There's no
I don't think that
way.
was made in Japan, though.
Well, maybe. I don't really know.
If it was made in Japan, it would have been
I'm
a lot
wrong, I'm
weirder.
wrong.
There would have been little girls
I mean, it's
with
already
skirts
very
and stuff.
strange.
Well,
But,
They would have found a way to make
hey.
it weirder. It's Japan.
That's
Yeah.
true. They always find a way. Alright, so are we pretty much wrapped up on news then? Beautiful. Alright, then we'll see you guys after the break for the topic section of our show.
Clap your hands.
Welcome back to the trivia section. The answer to what country was on Joel and Sarah's shirts was B, Argentina.
Alright guys, welcome to the third part of our show where we talk about a topic of the week. And this week, we're going to talk about DLC and our opinions on it. So do either you want to go first? Or-
Me?
You can go first, Jaeger. I feel like you're not going to be as opinionated as me and Will.
Well, I guess. You just because...
Why is that? Because they didn't do the research?
Yeah, you didn't look at the news.
Alright, this is becoming a thing now. But I'm okay with it. I don't know, like, I don't outwardly just hate it. As Will whips out a flask from his bag.
That's not my bag. What do you think
You're ruining your immersion again, the illusion.
The question is,
The trade secrets.
Did you have to
There's
pay-
not another person in this room, don't be fooled.
did you pay extra for that? You get the DLC
Will's
that has
DLC
the top.
to get drunk. No, I think it can be done right, and I think it can be done wrong. And I think a lot of negative stigma just comes from the companies that do it wrong. Like, what are some? I'm blanking. What are some examples of it done very poorly? Batman: Arkham Knight. The pre-order bonuses are ridiculous.
Yeah,
The
pre-order
season
bonuses
passes
in
that
general
give
are
you a
just
promise
stupid.
of DLC that could realistically not even come out because they don't announce what it is. 'Cause they haven't made it yet. They don't know. Maybe they have made it. I don't know. Like, there's a bunch of examples. And I think it's a shame, like, because companies like Nintendo didn't adapt to DLC for a long time. And, like, people were calling them out on shit, like, you know, Nintendo's not up to speed because they're not doing DLC. It's like, I think they wanted to keep it about games and not paying extra for things that have already been made. But when they, eventually they had to go the DLC because, you'll fall behind if you don't adapt to the AAA trends. But I think the way Nintendo does it with like Hyrule Warriors and Smash is a good example.
Certain ways Nintendo does it is good, but I don't agree with all the ways they've done some of the DLC.
I think they've done it, like, at least for Hyrule Warriors, I thought it was done really well. And
especially since they kind of.
But yeah, you can be scummy about it, and you can be not as scummy about it. That's pretty much how I feel. No super strong opinions either way. I don't really buy DLC that often unless it's for Smash or, Hyrule Warriors, because Zelda is one of my favorite franchises. So yeah, that's my thing. What we got? Will is just his nostrils are flaring.
Oh, seething.
He's ready to go. Seething.
I wanted to talk about DLC like week 1.
Day one.
Day one.
Like day one DLC?
Oh, don't even. No, I mean, you know what? I could just spend like 10 minutes sitting here like screaming and then like.
Does this include like pre-ordering from certain places? Because that's
Sure,
something that's
why
always.
No, I think that's different because I think there is.
Slightly.
Fallout New Vegas, they had something like that. You got it from GameStop, you got this, you got it from Target.
Yeah, that kind of bugs me.
That sort of stuff, and I get
I didn't like it when even like Hyrule Warriors did that.
It makes you feel like you're missing out on things.
Yeah,
and even if it's something that you don't really want, as soon as you hear that if you don't buy it from Best Buy, you don't get that thing, you're like, oh, but I really want that thing. Like, I guess I just...
Depends.
Yeah, the thing
if it's like a cool costume, I want the cool costume. But if it's like, here's a super overpowered weapon you can like get, and if you pre-order from here, I think that's kind of stupid.
See, it doesn't bother me that much because you said Hyrule Warriors did it, but then like a month later they came out and they're like, oh, well, you can also just buy all these DLCs instead.
Well, no, I'm just saying I don't like the practice of it. I think it's kind of
I guess, yeah.
weird.
Usually, eventually,
just because, yeah, like you said,
they bring it to the open market eventually.
Eventually, sure, but it's just. I mean, I understand why they do it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is definitely a clear message with video games being so expansive in such a large industry today that, like, it's money driven and they make money and they don't just, like, they're not little, like, niche things that has a tiny little, like, niche market and everybody in it, buys whatever is made by like the one or two companies. It's not like that anymore. There's so much money. There's so many companies. There's so much technology that there has to be this business aspect of it. And that's fine. That really is, I recognize and fully understand all of that. And yet at the same time, I just still hate DLC so much. And I just think it comes down to the fact that when you're getting DLC, paid DLC for a game, that means that there was more to the game that they didn't give you when you bought the game in the first place. And I think that not so much a money issue for me. I mean, that is a big issue. You don't want to spend extra money on, the $60 that you already spent to buy the game. But I think that the issue for me is that I feel like I'm being cheated in a way. And that's the worst part. Like when you buy a video game and then like 2 months later, they're like, oh yeah, and we also have like this extra content. And even if it's extra content, even if it's not like, really, really vital sort of stuff, the BioShock Infinite, the BioShock Burial at Sea stuff, like it's not vital. It does add to the story, but it's not like,
I was actually going to bring up those specific ones.
Exactly. And I think that those are, those are outrageously priced. But the issue really for me is that I feel like I'm being let down and cheated by the company that's, they say, hey, we made all this stuff and we'll give this whole game to you for this relatively exorbitant price of $60 and change. And then you can buy some more stuff, which we basically know you're going to get either way. And I think that's one of the things is that if you don't buy DLC normally, then it doesn't bug you quite as much because you just don't buy it. And I know that that's a silly thing for me to say is like, well, if I didn't buy it, it wouldn't bug me. It's the practice of it. It's the practice of withholding part of a game and then charging more for it later, and I just can't do it. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I guess I could see how you would see it from that point, but there's also kind of like the idea that maybe they couldn't get it out, like get all that stuff out on time as well, or they think of something up down the road that they want to throw in, or I don't really know about other companies, but that's kind of how I feel like it is with Smash Bros. Like, they're still continuously making characters.
I think there's a big...
I think fighting games actually just do DLC in general.
There's definitely a big distinction to be made between constant attention and constant...
I think what Will's referring to is more of, like, the basically paywalls that are on disc DLC that's, like, already... You know it's in it, but then you have to pay money to
That's exactly
unlock
what
it.
I'm talking about. When you go into like the root code of a game and all of the
Basically,
code
Arkham
for the
games.
items in the DLC is already in there, and then you buy the DLC, which is almost basically allowing you to access it and give you,
Basically,
the extra...
the last two Arkham games, last three Arkham
Exactly.
games.
And Burke makes a really good point about fighting games. That's not something that I take an issue with. A game that's going to have a studio that's going to give constant support to their community for their game and make stuff and like stick with that game, keep doing free updates, free DLC,
I was gonna say,
paid
I like
DLC
when,
that's bigger. That's great.
they do
I love
that.
everything about that. That sort of stuff is really great because that shows that game companies aren't just like, well, we're done, box it up, ship it out, move on to the next one. They want to stay with it. They want to keep doing, keep working on the game. And I know that Call of Duty is never really a great example for like something that like is really like for hardcore gamers. But to be fair, all the multiplayer teams that work on those games, they spend months and months and months and months and months and so many man hours tweaking that game's, the most recent release, tweaking it and fixing it and doing all these little things that they can. And sure, there's DLC and you can spend 99 cents on a gun camo. That's ridiculous and I think that's silly. But the fact that they don't just say, hey, yeah, we tweaked it a couple times and it's probably good where it is. They really try and balance things. They add, maybe a little couple more inches onto some concrete in one spot so it's a little bit harder to sit there for, whatever. That sort of stuff, that I really, really like. I like it when game studios stick with their game after it's released.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think some games that have been doing that recently that have been really well, or have been like, Smash, like, there's DLC, but they always release it, usually with like a free update kind of beforehand that adds stuff.
Yeah.
And, Monster Hunter this year has been great with that. Constantly, every month there's some new stuff going on, which is great.
You make
The
a
Witcher
good
3
point
has
about
been
the
like
Smash
that too.
Bros. Thing. They release a free update with a little bit of stuff, and also the option to buy more.
Yeah, so like they
DLC.
come out with a free update that has like a new stage or something.
Right, and they're kind of
But you
saying
could
like
also-
you can
yeah, you
buy
can have the
more,
characters, too.
but you don't have to buy more.
It's smart,
to get
and I
more.
don't feel like I got screwed over.
Right, because if you don't want to buy it, you're not missing out on getting new stuff because you did get a little bit new stuff with the update, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
the way they handle it.
Nintendo,
It's really smart.
I think, handles DLC really, really great. Jaeger, you bring up a good
Mario
point
Party.
about Nintendo being a little late to the whole DLC party thing, and people are giving them flack for it and saying, oh, you guys are behind the times and stuff. And I don't think that that's true at all. I think Nintendo realized that they could kind of watch everybody else do DLC and make it, integrated into the way that they release games, and Nintendo could watch it and say, cherry pick all the ways to do it right and not do the ways to do it wrong, which I think is really vital. They gave it a couple years. They started doing DLC and they don't do that stuff. You can buy extra stuff and that's fine. It's, that's how that works. But Nintendo doesn't come out with, at least first party Nintendo doesn't come out with like, hey, do you want to play the last world of like the new Mario game? Well, like, guess what? Like it's $7.99. And they don't do that sort of stuff, And I mean, I know that's an extreme example, and that
They don't do like day one.
hasn't
DLCs.
happened yet. But yeah,
those kind of bugs.
I
To
would
an
say
extent.
that
Do they?
Nintendo
They have
does
done a
handle
day
it well.
one DLC,
For what?
Mario Golf.
Oh well, okay. Mario Golf.
That was kind of a weak counterpoint, I think.
I mean, at least they attempted it.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Mario Golf.
Yeah, I
Besides-
think it was Birdo as day one DLC, which day one DLCs in general are just kind of super scummy.
I know that we all love video games and like are really, really into them, but I'm like starting to wonder why you knew that Mario Golf's day one DLC was Birdo. That seems oddly specific.
It really bothered me back in the day.
really grinded your gears, did it?
Not the fact that they did it with Mario
Whoa,
Golf, just
back
the
in the
fact
day,
that they
when
did
was
it
it?
like 2-3 years ago. I
Yeah,
think.
Mario
Okay.
Golf came out like a bit ago.
Yeah,
Oh jeez, I don't know.
yeah.
I was about to say something about Camelot, but then I remembered that's Mario Tennis.
Yeah.
Is it also golf?
I don't know, honestly. It may be.
Camelot should make some Golden Sun DLC where they just give us a new
Where
game.
I was gonna say they give us a new game.
I miss you, Golden Sun.
I think one of the issues that I have with the kind of overpriced pay
Birdo.
DLC for stuff that you shouldn't have to, Birdo, whatever, that sort of stuff. I think like DLC Doomsday people say like, okay, well, you've got to pay this extra money to get these extra bits. How long until when you get to the last level, it suddenly tells you that you have to pay an extra amount of money to get to this last level to get like a certain type of ending? Or another good point is, this actually should have fallen in the news segment. It was a while ago. There has been a fair bit of deregulation for gambling, online gambling over the past handful of years. And that has started, not yet, but has started to slip into the video game console world where there are companies that are trying to get online gambling into our console games, real video games, not like playing Texas Hold'em on your computer.
Yeah.
Not to say that's not real video games. What am I talking about? That's online gambling. But my point is that how long, Doomsday Theorist will say, how long until, when you're playing Madden and you're down by a touchdown, right before you do it, the game pauses and says like,
would you like to complete this pass for $10?
No, that's not where I was going with it. I was saying, do you think that if you can score this touchdown, win this game, like, do you want to put 15, Microsoft points on it? Those aren't a thing anymore.
Ridiculous.
But the point is
What
that
is it now?
it's just dollars. They completely
okay.
scrapped Microsoft points. It's no longer a thing.
There's like a wonky conversion in there.
It was weird because they were, you could only get them in 400s, 800s, 1600s, and everything that you needed to buy, you could either buy you could either buy it in packs of like 800 and everything was like 1,000 and the levels were like buy 800 Microsoft
They were
points,
like the power levels in
or buy
DBZ.
1,600. So there was no way to like actually get spend
Right.
the right amount of money on it,
That's sneaky.
And that's kind of why they scrapped
bunch
it
of
because a lot of
nonsense.
people were like, this is ridiculous and nobody paid for it.
Yeah.
The point is that when you set a precedent with sucking money out of the consumer, sucking money out of your video game community, how far does that go until, number one, you've got stuff like you get to the last level and you have to, pay an extra $1 to finish the game. How far until that happens? Or does it get to a point where the community completely pushes back and says, no more of this, we don't want any part of it?
Yeah.
And that's just not a place that's not like an end game that anybody wants to get to. Not the consumers, not the retailers, nobody. Like we want them to make good games and we will give them a reasonable amount of money and we will play those games and we'll enjoy them. There doesn't need to be animosity between feeling like we're having, our hard-earned dollars dragged away from us to play video games.
Mm-hmm. I think DLC walks a very fine line in what is considered good DLC and what is considered bad
And where
DLC.
it lands on that line is dependent on the company that is running that game or running that console or whatever it is, the way that they handle it.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
where that line falls.
And
if you do it right, it's okay. If you do it wrong, it's really not okay. I think it's a pretty black and white scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've seen that picture online where it's like DLC back in the day and it was like some added content, and then there's one that's like DLC today and it's like the same section of what the old game was, but like certain things are ripped out of it. And
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when DLC started, that was kind of the idea. It's downloadable extra content, and that was the original intention for it. Now you look at it today and you wonder, like, when root files for everything in DLC is already in the main game when you get it on day one, and then the DLC comes out, 4, 5, 6 months later or whatever, how can you really honestly say to yourself, like, oh, this is extra content? Like, clearly they just took stuff out of the end of the game and just made you pay more for it,
Yeah.
And I think I would say that money is, although a huge problem, is kind of secondary. At least for me, it's more of the principle of the matter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we could have a whole other debate about whether games are reasonably priced or not.
I'll bring up.
$60 is a lot of dollars.
It is,
It's
yeah.
a lot of dollars.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I actually heard some people talking about how some companies, mostly from what I understand, like Nintendo, have been a little bit kind of experimenting with their prices.
Nintendo would be, you know, it would be
Because like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze came out, it was only $50 instead of $60.
I was going to say Nintendo would be very, very smart. And also I wouldn't be not predicting that it would happen or that it will happen, but that it would be very Nintendo of them to suddenly say our major title releases are $50 again.
Yeah. I mean,
Back
that's
in the
what they
good
did
old
with
days.
the Wii.
Exactly. And that would be really, really cool. And I think that that would really throw a wrench in. I don't think that Sony and Microsoft compete directly with Nintendo the way that they compete with each other. All three of
Yeah,
them
I
compete
know.
because they're video gamers, but video game
But
companies,
Nintendo has not a lot of third-party
One's-
support.
yeah.
they really don't. And
Yeah.
the community that they've forged over the past, 20 some odd years now is so strong and loves Nintendo so much that there isn't like hey, like, there's exclusive DLC or there's exclusive games here on Sony or here on Microsoft that it's going to sway you one way or another. People who love Nintendo just love Nintendo and everything else can go screw, you know? So I think that that would be really cool of Nintendo to do something like that. Again, not for the money aspect, yes. Also for the fact that it would just be like a really nice gesture to video gamers saying, hey, like, we get it, you know, and we're not trying to screw you guys.
Right.
That would be something that I think Iwata would be down with.
So I'm just gonna bring up a couple like of my personal like bad DLCs that have happened throughout the years.
BioShock Infinite?
Yeah, BioShock Infinite we already mentioned. It's literally the two DLCs probably individually are like 2 to 3 hours each, and each of them are also individually $20 each.
Absolute
Which is
tops, 2 to
ridiculous.
3 hours.
Yeah.
I beat the first one in probably
The
like,
first one's really short.
inside of an hour.
Yeah, I
Start
know.
to finish.
And it's
on
like
the
yeah.
hardest
it's like
difficulty.
Yeah, it
$20,
was 2
$15 for
episodes.
both.
That's an outrageous amount of money.
It's ridiculous, and I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't on sale on Steam for like $4 for both.
Yeah, and
honestly.
I mean Steam gets it. They
Yeah.
realize they sell stuff for cheap and they know that people are gonna buy that sort of stuff, and that's kind of like why make $0 in profit off people not buying a $40 set of expansions? Then why don't we make $10 or $15 off people actually buying it?
It's also really funny because like I'd say probably a third of the first BioShock DLC is literally just you walking around talking to people.
Are you talking about episode 1?
Episode
of,
1, yeah.
Of
You're
Burial
walking
at Sea?
around, yeah. You're walking around like pre-destroyed Rapture, just
Yeah.
like talking to people.
Oh yeah,
collecting
no,
keys,
no, you don't see.
collecting masks.
Yes, collecting, a couple enemies, and there's a Big Daddy.
And then it's over.
And yeah, no spoilers, but you knew a
Yeah.
Big Daddy was going to show. I almost actually spoiled the ending
That
of it
would
right
have been
there.
bad.
I was thinking, of
Jaeger
it.
hasn't even played it.
I
I
haven't
think.
played it.
You got $40.
Honestly,
No, that's why.
I
Well,
think
that's
the
not really why, but
the-
I sold my
the
copy.
ending's it's okay. I think it's really interesting seeing like the pre-destroyed Rapture and like all the people you knew from.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean
Bioshock
the
1.
concept is really cool, but I would argue that
It's just way too overpriced.
no matter how cool it is, there is a dollar limit. That no matter how cool whatever it was is the DLC, it was cool to see Rapture. It was an interesting add-on to the end of the mildly convoluted though very good storyline of BioShock Infinite. I think that you just look at it and you're like, how could this possibly be worth this much
Yeah,
money?
I actually got it wrong. It was $15 for one, and for two it was $20 for both together.
I mean,
It's still way too much.
and you know, when we were talking about season passes, I think that's one of the
That's
biggest.
also a really dumb thing too.
Season
I
passes
personally
are
think.
that's what I think
That's-
of when I think of what in DLC infuriates me. What I don't like about it is a season pass. It's basically give us some money, and that's a general promise that you will get all of this DLC that we may or may not have made. We
Yeah.
might
Or
have
announced.
finished. We haven't really announced it. You don't even know how many you're gonna get. And with Call of Duty, they've gotten more specific with it. But the first time that they did it, the first season pass, I think, was for Modern Warfare 3. And they said, like, yeah, you're gonna get maps and guns. And to be fair, they did come out with a handful of maps and a handful of guns. But I remember when it came out, like, you got your money's worth for what you paid if you really liked Call of Duty. They did fulfill their end of it with the season pass. But I remember looking at it and being like, I'm just supposed to throw money at you and like assume that you're going to give me like $20 or $25 worth of what I'm paying for?
That's also something that can be remedied too. I mean, going back to Hyrule Warriors, they also did a season pass, but they came out when they were like, yeah, we're going to do a season pass, but the first one's going to be like, I don't remember what it was, Twilight Princess, I think, and they're like, we're going to add another character, we're going to add a couple
they
weapons.
told you
Being
what you're
specific
getting.
about
Yeah.
your season pass, I think a season pass when it's announced that you can buy it without the actual content is just clearly a way for that game
Especially when they announce
developer
the
to be
season
like,
pass, like, with the game.
just throw.
They're like, the game's out, you can buy the season pass, we don't know what it's going to have, but you can buy
Yeah,
it.
people at GameStop try to sell it to you like really
Yeah.
hard. That's what happened when I bought Infinite. He tried to convince me to buy the season pass, but he wasn't really sure what was in it when I asked.
Well, I
Good.
mean, I can't think of any other scenario in the world, in the entire business world, where you pay for a product or a service without having an incredibly like clear picture as to what it is that you're buying.
Right.
And maybe there's something that I'm kind of forgetting here, but like, could you imagine like going to a car dealership and like buying a car and they're like, yeah, it's got 4 wheels.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
And that's
You'll
it.
get
That's
the
all they've
tires
got
if
for
you
you.
buy the season pass.
Yeah, if you buy
You'll
the
get
season
one
pass
tire
for a
in
vehicle,
winter.
we'll hang one of those little air fresheners. I mean, it'll be a color. It seems so like
That'll have some
unreasonable,
parts.
but for some
living
reason
repairman will be
there are
inside the
things
trunk.
that are acceptable in the video game world
Yeah.
that shouldn't be acceptable because when you take it out of it and you put it in any other business model, it makes no sense at all. And that's not something that we as video gamers, I think, should accept and be okay with.
Yeah,
So-
well, a lot of people don't, which is nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring up the DLC that bothers me the most and has bothered me for like the
Haunted
longest
your
amount of
Is it,
dreams.
is it Birdo?
No,
From
it is not. But
Clear
that did
Golf?
bother me a lot.
You seem
because
pretty damn bothered.
I did. It was just such a shock
Can't
that
blame
Nintendo
you.
was
Birdo's
like,
terrible.
Well, it was just a shock that Nintendo was like, yeah, we're doing day 1 DLC. What up?
Who the fuck would pay for Birdo?
I don't know. Same-
Yeah, what person out there was like, oh
You know
my
what the
god,
hypest Mario character
take
is?
my money. I need Birdo
I'm sure
in
there's
my
some
Mario
people out
Golf
there.
game.
My day 1 Birdo.
But no, the thing that bothered me the most in DLC was the Half-Life 2 DLCs because they were essential for the story.
Oh yeah.
It's-
And that's
so
what I was talking about
stupid.
earlier, and I said,
It's
like,
so
what
fucking
happens
dumb.
when you don't, when this happens, when this doomsday prophecy happens, I completely blanked and forgot that Half-Life already did that.
Half-Life
Right.
2 came out, it told a story, and then they're like,
What happens?
It kind of sort of ended, and they're like, nah, there's more after, you gotta pay $10.
Let's
$10,
see them
$15.
wallets, kids.
And they're like, oh, okay,
Your
cool.
wallet.
And then there was a cliffhanger, and then they're like, well, for the next one, you gotta pay like $10, $15.
they did it twice.
And they're like, ugh. So people are like, well, Valve's not going to screw us over, so they hand over their money.
Ooh,
and then they're like, but there's going to be a
Gabe
third
Newell,
DLC.
please.
And that was like back in 2007. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ended off in a huge cliffhanger, and they're like, we're either going to make another game or we're going to do more DLC, but it's going to come out soon, and then it like hasn't come
What
out.
year was that?
2007.
2007, and
So
it's
8 years ago.
It's 2000. I'm 8 years older than I was when Half-Life.
Yeah.
Than when Valve promised me more of Half-Life, and I've gotten so much older
Yeah.
and so much wiser.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous that
And doing
like that
something
can
like,
happen.
I mean, that is probably the worst scenario that I can think of involving really, really badly done DLC. I mean, the DLC itself, the actual stuff, was cool.
It was alright. I mean,
Like,
it added a few new things.
the problem is that whether it was good or it was bad, whatever. I mean,
It was
people
essential
would
for
be
the story.
people would be incredibly pissed if it had been terrible. But even if it had been middling all the way up to really, really good, it's still completely marred and completely tainted by the fact that everybody won't remember the actual game, but will remember the fact that Valve kind of screwed everybody over doing that. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems. That's where I have the issue, is that when the money aspect is more in the forefront than the actual video game, which I think clearly it is right there, that's unacceptable. Right. And that's not something that any of us at all for any reason should be like, well, I really like the game. Like, no, you say no. Like you're talking to a dog, you just peed on the carpet.
So going against that, actually, I have a few good examples of DLC as well. One of my
Did your
favorite
research?
Yeah, looked at the news. So one of my favorite companies that actually I personally feel does DLC really well is Bethesda.
Bethesda kills it, and I wasn't going to mention them at all because I didn't want to take away from my just vitriol for all DLC in general. Although now that we're here, yeah, Bethesda kills it with DLC.
They just add like ridiculous new
Horse
expansive
Armor.
areas.
Okay, Horse Armor is a terrible
Armor.
example.
That was the worst one.
The worst, and that's the worst one. It was still better than Half-Life.
But they add like expansive new areas with tons of new quests and
So
storylines.
much
Like not even like
interesting
main
stuff.
storylines that you need to understand the game. They're just like side
Right.
things that kind of just are
They're not
cool.
vital to the game,
yeah.
but like after you get them and after you play them, you feel as if they've become vital to the
Mm-hmm.
game. Although when you don't have them, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. And I think
Exactly.
what you
'Cause
said,
you had Half-Life New Vegas for like I don't even know how long without the DLC.
Half-Life New Vegas is not a game.
Fallout New Vegas. Sorry, not yet.
Not yet. That's
Wait.
going to be the new DLC.
Just wait.
That'd be a weird collab.
No, you're right. I played all of Fallout New Vegas start to finish like a handful of times without any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And loved it. And now I've got it and I'm going through it. And I think I think what you said earlier about when a video game company can't finish everything that they want to finish and push it back and use DLC as a way to be like, oh my gosh, we made all of this stuff and we want to give it to all of you guys, but like we can't jam it all into this window. So like we'll do, timed release DLC. Bethesda does it well because that stuff really feels like expansive stuff that they like continued working on and like is meant for us to play, not for us to pay for, if that makes
Right.
any sense.
Yeah, I think it does.
Going to Solstheim and Skyrim.
Yeah, going to Solstheim and Morrowind.
That exactly. Going to Solstheim and Morrowind,
Both.
really awesome. And then getting to go back in
Yeah.
Skyrim, especially as people who played and loved Morrowind, like
Yeah.
killing it.
It is really
Nailed
good DLC.
it.
Unfortunately, I
Absolutely
heard the
nailed
other one. I don't have it because I heard it was bad, and I'm waiting for it to drop below $20 in order to get it. But I heard, I don't remember what it's called, the vampire one.
Oh, there is Dragonborn.
Dragonborn's the better of the two. Do they have three? Oh,
there are three.
They have-
There's
it's like the home builder one. I forget it.
Hearthfire,
Hearthfire, yeah.
and I
Dawnguard.
can't remember the name of it. Dawnguard. Yeah. No, it's cool. The vampire one's pretty nifty. There's a lot of
I heard
cool
the biggest
stuff
complaint is
involved.
that vampires just ravage villages.
Oh my
when you're
God.
like half the world away. And
Yeah, you just like fast travel to like some little town like Falkreath and all of a sudden there's like a ton of master vampires there. And the thing is they don't really attack you as soon as you get there. They just start like slaughtering guards and the townspeople run out of their homes with like little iron daggers and old ladies get murdered and
Oh my God.
no, it's horrible.
yeah, I heard that was
The
the
massacre.
biggest.
And not in like a cool way,
And
in
it
like,
doesn't-
oh my God, you've
I don't know,
screwed
it
up my
sounds pretty
game
metal.
way.
Does it add like another
It
area?
would only be more metal if I was playing it on my
Totally-
flaming Nvidia shield.
Yeah, totally radical.
Does it even
Fucking
add, like, a new
vampires
area,
just
or-
taking over
Radical,
this town
dude.
in a mass hysteria.
So does it add a new area, or is it just like new quests and a new trade line?
No, absolutely. It does
It
add,
is?
it
Okay, I
has
didn't know, honestly.
really cool, I mean, I don't know, spoiler alerts. I'm not going to go into any
I know they have
detail.
the trait lines for werewolves and vampires,
You do-
which are kind of interesting.
Yeah, they add the skill trees for that, which is really cool. And they
cool.
also add this like, they add a new area, but it's not a physical new area the way that Solstheim is like literally
Separated
another
from
island you
Skyrim,
can fast
yeah.
travel to. It's on like a different plane, if you will. It's like through these doors and it's kind of just like a, if I explain it, it'll kind of give the whole thing away if you haven't played it. So it's just
It's in
it's
Skyrim,
a
just a
different
place you couldn't get
dimension
to.
almost is the best
Okay.
way that I can think of. So it's
Gotcha.
it's in Skyrim. The door to get there is through Skyrim, but it's completely different.
Gotcha.
It's covered. I mean, I almost said it's completely different. It's covered in ice, but that's kind of like Skyrim. But
Yeah.
the whole thing feels like an Arctic mountain or
So
something like
Skyrim.
that. No, frozen
Alright,
lakes,
fair
like
enough.
that kind of Arctic.
Oh, okay. Fair
You know,
enough.
I think when we talk about good DLC, Fallout 3's DLC is all just totally awesome. Except
Yeah.
Mothership Zeta makes me want to kill myself,
Yeah.
but it still is cool. Fallout 3, although has Broken Steel, which although doesn't add a whole lot of
Yeah,
stuff,
it really doesn't.
I remember the way that I felt once I beat it and then I got Broken Steel, and the biggest thing that it adds is you can continue playing after the actual end of the main quest, which is
Oh yeah,
awesome.
people are really upset about that.
That was
before.
really cool. So they added that, and it adds this whole like extra feeling of like the wasteland getting better. if that makes any sense. There's purified water everywhere, all sorts of stuff. The Jefferson Memorial gets, turned on and starts working, and it begins purifying the water throughout the wastes. And like the river around it that's originally irradiated is now no longer irradiated. It just really feels like things are getting better, and it just kind of adds this like extra little something I can't quite explain, je ne sais quoi, onto the end of the game.
Makes sense. Another one I was going to bring up, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, but certain rhythm games, like Guitar Hero Rock Band and Final Fantasy Theatrhythm, the 3DS, which
Like
was
adding extra songs? Or...
Yeah, adding extra songs. But just like they add like a couple of new songs. So when they make
Are
the
rhythm
game...
games even relevant anymore?
Yeah, they're coming out with new ones. In like
The new Rock
in
Band?
2 months, October.
I mean,
Both. Rock Band and
Are we
Guitar
going to get
Hero.
together and play it at Nate's house?
I'm considering buying
Yes.
it, honestly. But yeah, I mean, they
all
say...
my instruments are broken.
say
Drew.
It's interesting in the sense that, say you get the game and you're like, oh, sweet, I can't wait to see what's on there. And you see just like 5 songs by like, I don't even know,
A
one
band that you
artist.
like.
And you're like, oh, well, they could have thrown different songs on there. So I think that's, especially if they think of these later on, where they can just be like, oh, we'll just get like a bunch of bands.
A new really
Ask
popular
them.
song comes out.
Yeah.
And it's similar in the way that like in first person shooter games, you can buy new paint for your gun. And if you're
Yeah.
really into having that cool new paint on your
Exactly,
gun,
yeah.
you can pay for that. And I mean, to me, that's silly, but I think that it's the same idea for the songs and buying extra camo for your gun or whatever. But for rhythm games, it makes a lot of sense because like you don't feel like you're missing out on it if you don't buy it, because you don't feel like
Exactly.
they left out anything out of the game because they can't put all of the music ever made into the game.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
yeah, it's a little different.
So
like,
you kind of get this selection where it's like, do you want to buy more songs? Like you can get more songs, but not in a way that you feel cheated, because you can pick the ones that you want, bands that you like, and you can almost customize your own game, which you're right is a really cool positive thing about.
Especially with something like Final Fantasy Theatrhythm Curtain Call, which was obviously strictly Final Fantasy songs. They came back later and Square Enix was like, well, we could throw like Chrono Trigger songs in his DLC or Dragon Quest. I don't think they did Dragon Quest because I think they're doing their own stuff in Theatrhythm with that. But Chrono Trigger songs, Xenosaga, something like that.
those are games, yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those
I
are
don't remember.
definitely video
I don't
games.
remember if Square Enix has a hand in them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Secret of Mana.
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 I love those games.
There was a couple I really liked. The World Ends With You.
It's Atlas.
Hide line.
The,
Super highlight.
Yeah. The World Ends With You. They added some songs from that into there. Yeah, they added just like a bunch of songs that obviously wouldn't have been in them
But
because they're not Final Fantasy.
Could you get Birdo on day one?
I think so. They did have some characters that you can buy, which I thought was really stupid. My favorite,
Yes.
actually, I think this is really smart how they do this DLC, but we brought it up before. Monster Hunter,
Yeah,
which
right.
I don't. It's free, so obviously it's good DLC.
Free DLC is not. Yeah.
I mean,
In my
it's-
mind, when you say DLC,
Okay.
like DLC, I think of Season Pass from BioShock Infinite or something like that,
Right.
or Arkham. Free DLC,
But along the same lines, also Mario Kart, coming out with DLC, because those are both very community-based games in which you need people playing in order to play it.
exactly.
And DLC gives people an incentive to come back and be like, all right, well,
Yeah, it's
this
keeping
game
your
interests me.
interest.
Right, that's the point of DLC in general. You want to keep people intrigued in your game, and that's why it's important to stay motivated to like continue coming out with stuff, continue coming out with content. I mean, you look at the way that when you play any first person shooter online, you get ranked as you play multiplayer. Your character gets ranked up, and it's pretty much meaningless because then when you get to the end of like you get all the way up to level 70, well then you can like go to the next one. And basically you can go to level, I don't even know what it is, but you can go all the way up to level 70 and then do that 20 times.
Yeah.
And it takes a really long time, but the whole core idea of that is to get the person who's playing like
Yeah, but
to
I'm just
keep
saying,
coming back
it's-
and not just
It's
give up
really
on it.
important in those games because, I mean, who wants to play Mario Kart, hop on, and you get into a match with like 3 other people as opposed to 11 other people.
Right. And it still happens too, even.
Yeah, but not like as badly, especially with like Monster Hunter. I have played. You can definitely notice what'll happen is free DLC will come out. There'll be like full rooms everywhere.
Huge burst of population into the game.
A week later, there will be like a couple full rooms, but mostly people are still kind of searching for other stuff. And then like a month, not even a month, like 3 weeks later, a week before the next DLC comes out, you'll have trouble finding like 4
Anything
people
at
that
all.
want to do the same quest as you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Monster Hunter also isn't really a game that it's the type of game that the people who really love Monster Hunter love it and are going to play it like till their fingers bleed.
to a certain extent, I'd say.
But
'cause
I feel like if you're casual about Monster Hunter, although it is a lot of fun, it is a good game, it is a really great game, it might be a little bit harder to just stay absolutely dedicated and involved in and just play, you know, to that level.
Because I know, like, me and Jaeger, what happened with us was we kind of stopped for a little while, and then the DLC came out, and then I played it for, like, a month, and the next DLC came out, so I kept playing it. So that certainly brought me back. But, I mean, yeah, you're right, there are certain people that are gonna go in, they're gonna grind up one monster to the highest level, and then keep fighting that to gain experience so they reach the max level in Monster Hunter. But, I mean, I haven't played Monster Hunter in 3-4 weeks because the last
it's been a
DLC
while.
didn't really interest me, but I'm probably gonna, if they do, I think Jaeger said they're doing an August DLC.
Yep.
I'm gonna hop back into it because
Yeah, I
there'll be
might
a bunch
too.
of people and it'll be a lot easier. I mean, I tried 2 weeks ago, I tried to go online and I couldn't find anyone that wanted to hunt the same monster as me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the problems with staying committed is that there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like, I'm going to play this game, and then, like, they kind of taper off, whatever, and they don't play it so much. Also, people who are really committed to the game, they're like, I really want to play this, but I don't really want to sit and wait in a lobby or not be able to find a lobby. And even people who want to play it all the time are going to be like, well, I'll just come back when the next DLC comes out when everybody's playing again.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that makes the population shift even more dramatic, because even the hardcore players are like, well, I can't play this game if I don't have, 3 other people that actually want to do what I want.
You can, it's just not as fun.
Exactly. And takes way longer.
Best way to do it is just play with your friends, honestly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I gotta go buy Monster Hunter.
It's pretty great.
It's actually really funny because I used to play with Jaeger and Drew, and like it kind of happened to the point where Drew kind of gave up, and he's like the low rank, and Jaeger I think is high rank now, and I'm like
I'm on the
the
road
high.
to, yeah,
I'm like
on the road
highest.
to G rank.
So like
That's
I remember I
interesting.
played with Jaeger, and like we hunted the same monster like 5 times, and it was just so quick because I was just so overpowered.
Yeah, he was just wrecking
Going
everyone
and finding
for me.
little dinos, just
Yeah.
chopping them down.
yeah. It
No,
was,
who were we hunting? The Zygarde,
the
I think it
Rathalos.
was?
We hunted the Rathalos forever.
Oh, the first one
because
I
you
thought we
couldn't
did
find
was
like it was the Zinogre.
The Zinogre, yeah. And I just remember, like, the first time, there was, like, what was the drop rate? Like a 6% or
Yeah,
1%
something
maybe?
Like that.
And you got it on the first one. I was
con-
so mad
I'm
because I didn't
convinced-
get it. And you
I'm
can't, like,
convinced
trade
I'm the
items.
RNGesus.
Yeah,
I
it
have
was
the most
ridiculous.
ridiculous luck in that game. It's
I
disgusting.
have been hunting that thing for, like, hours. And, yeah. Well, that's Monster Hunter in a nutshell.
Pretty much, yeah. I just luck out somehow.
Fashion hunter, as some call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is completely off topic, but when we're talking about games that you kind of abandoned, when's the last time you played Animal Crossing New Leaf?
I play it every once in a while still, actually.
God, my whole town is probably overrun with zombies at this point.
Zombies, yeah.
I'm too
everyone's dead.
scared to turn mine back
Oh
on
yeah,
in
no,
fear of
yeah.
that.
Once you've gone a
feel
little
like-
ways, like there's gonna be weeds
That's
to the
another
motherfucking
thing.
moon.
For
Like
a little
nice.
while,
Yeah, it's
that
not
was
great.
another DLC thing. It was free, obviously, but they put they should have done it in more of like monthly
Like,
releases.
hey, come
as
back to your
opposed
town
weekly
so it doesn't,
releases.
get
Yeah.
covered in weeds and all the people starve and die.
They were kind of like every week. They were like, "Here's a new furniture thing. Come back next week. There'll be a new one." But like, obviously, everyone the first month or 2 or 3 was like, "Oh, we gotta play this game," and then after that, everyone like stopped. That was playing it stopped, and possibly forever. But yeah, I pick it up every
Possibly forever.
yeah, I pick it up every 2 to 3 weeks and just play a little while. Pick some weeds.
I probably haven't played that game in
It's been months.
months and months.
I honestly wish I
might be
bought
pushing
it.
a year.
I wish I bought on my 3DS as digital because it would make it so much easier. All right, so I guess that about wraps it up for the third section. You guys don't have anything else, right? Thanks for joining us in episode 3 of our show. If you like what you heard, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Guys and Their Games, and we'll see you next time. See you guys. The song excerpts used in this episode were Forest/Nature Area from Super Smash Bros. U, copyright Nintendo, 2014. Restoring the Light, Facing the Dark from Ori and the Blind Forest, copyright Moon Studios, 2015. The theme from Donkey Konga, copyright Nintendo, 2003. And To the Last Battle from Xenoblade Chronicles, copyright Monolith Soft, 2010.